Now, on Queer News Tonight, celebrate Valentine's Day at Pride Skate Night, February 1st. Music, skating, drag performances, and perhaps love?
Log cabin Republicans spark controversy comparing President Biden to Hitler.
Will Ferrell and longtime friend Harper Steele document their journey of understanding transgender identity in the upcoming film Will and Harper.
Amid Missouri's push for anti-LGBTQ+ bills, a father passionately pleads for government non-interference in a heartfelt address defending his transgendered son's rights.
Trans activist Candis Cayne publicly ends her friendship with Caitlyn Jenner due to Jenner's controversial political stances. Wait, isn't Candis Cayne here tonight?
Hello and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, and social platforms, including Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It is Thursday, January 25th, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
I'm Out South Florida senior reporter John Hayden, and this evening we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across the planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a non-profit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV and AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
This year, in 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Well, as I said at the top of the show, I am John Hayden, Out South Florida senior reporter, and today I had an amazing opportunity to go to the ribbon cutting of a large, beautiful, bunny-rific art installation in the heart of Wilton Manors. The Thunder Bunny, there it is, Thunder Bunny. It's been in the city for a few months, but today was the official dedication and ribbon cutting. Everyone was there. And besides being just so quirky and so perfect for Wilton Manors, it's a wonderful example of the city's commitment to public art. This is not the only cool-looking, funky statue in the city, but it is the biggest and probably the most high-profile. So if you get a chance to come to Wilton, please, don't just stop at our bars and our restaurants. As you walk along the drive and the offshoots, check out our art. It's incredibly cool, and we are so lucky to have it. And that story will be in Out South Florida online tomorrow. All right, enough about big bunnies. Let's talk about Bad Papi. Bad Papi is a Latina gender-fluid drag artist who redefines what it means to be trans and non-binary in the Latin community. Bad Papi is also the director of Reflect Collective, a non-profit serving QTPOC survivors of sexual and domestic violence. Welcome back, Papi.
Thank you for having me. Just wanted to let you know that officially we're having our Queer Fest, 4th annual Queer Fest, April 25th at 7 p.m. at Domicile Miami. I'm so excited to be there. It's going to have a showcase of all QTPOC performers and people who have survived sexual and domestic violence. So I'm so excited to be having that.
I can't wait. We'll talk about this more as we get closer. I certainly want to do an article.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about it here quite a bit too. Are tickets available yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
They'll be available in either end of February, early March, but
Mark it on the calendar now.
Mark it in your calendar.
Awesome. All right. Up next, Dr. Bobby Huen, a certified civil and family mediator and founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Originally from Hong Kong and having grown up around the world, he offers a queer global perspective on current events. Welcome back, Bobby.
Hey, how's it going, John?
It's going fantastic. We had a nice lunch yesterday with
Yes, we
the
did.
Happening Out team, and yeah,
It was a lovely gathering. Thank you for joining us.
it was. And Gym Bar. We love us some gym food. Up next, new to the show, Candis Cayne, a trailblazing actress who broke barriers as the first trans actress in a recurring starring role on network TV, playing Carmelita Rayner in Dirty Sexy Money. From The Magicians to Nip Tuck, she's made her mark. A vocal LGBTQ plus activist, she recently starred in and produced Candis Cayne's Secret Garden. Welcome to the show, Candis. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here, be in South Florida.
Oh, I know, right? It's beautiful here. I know you're from Southern California,
Yeah.
but Southern California, not the same weather as South Florida, just because they both have South in them.
Yeah, it's cold there right now.
I know. Oh, I know. All right, so we're going to talk about Secret Garden a little later in the show. We're going to talk about your activism and celebrity feuds later in the show, and that's going to be fun. But this is your first time on here, so I have to ask you to tell me your entire life story, 7 seconds or less. Start at the beginning, leave nothing out.
Oh my gosh. Happiness, amazing family, struggle, and now I'm just, I'm in a good place.
Yes, you are, because you're here.
Yeah.
This is the good place. I'm so glad you're here. And finally, let's welcome Hunter Ohanian, a community consultant for more than 30 years of experience. He is the former executive director of the Stonewall National Museum, served as CEO of the College Art Association, the world's largest professional society supporting visual artists, art historians, and curators. He also served as museum director of the prestigious Leslie Lohman Museum of Gay and Lesbian Art in New York. He is an expert in gay history, culture, law, and politics. Welcome back to the show, Hunter.
Thank you, John. Happy to be here. I just want to do a plug for the Broward Art Guild. They're going to be having a show, an exhibition called Seeing Red, and it is going to be on view from January 31st to February 16th. And there'll be an opening reception a week from this Saturday on February 3rd from 5:30 to 8:30, and a piece of my work is going to be in that show. So
yeah,
I'm very happy
okay.
to be in that show.
All right, what is it?
So about 3 months ago, I did a series of portraits of dancers in bars in West Hollywood. And so there's one bathed in beautiful red light. And so that portrait is in the show.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to see it and the entire exhibition.
Yeah, they do a great job. So
Fantastic. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community around the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, January 25th. It's already January 25th?
I know.
2024. It's already 2024? Oh my gosh. Let's begin by clearing up breaking news. Florida House bans social media access to all LGBTQ plus children under 16. LGBTQ plus activists are saying that Governor DeSantis and Florida's culture war of don't say gay on students and youth has taken an even darker turn. The Florida House passed a restriction on children under the age of 16 to allow any access to social media platforms regardless of parental approval. It has been the top priority for the chamber's speaker, Paul Renner. The bill doesn't list which platforms would be enforced, but it suggests any social media site that tracks user activity. Critics argue it is part of the game to have a very vague interpretation of laws, which would then, theoretically, survive constitutional challenges. The bill's sponsor, Republican Representative Tyler Soros, says it's not about speech, but rather about keeping children from getting hooked on social media. The House voted 106 to 13, with several Democrats joining all Republicans in support. Queer Democratic Representative Michelle Rayner posted on X before the vote about the hateful nature of social media, including comments about her deceased mother. While it will affect all youth in Florida, studies show it will have a disproportionate impact on LGBTQ plus youth. Florida, with its book bans, don't say gay, no pride flags potentially, is crushing attempts on all recognition of LGBTQ+ and have left Florida LGBTQ+ young people hiding in social media. Harold Marrero, Chief Operating Officer of Safe Schools, says, quote, "Since Don't Say Gay was enacted, Safe Schools has pivoted to digital and social media programming to ensure uninterrupted education and support for our youth. Laws like HB1 stifle young voices and undermine parental rights to manage their children's digital presence. It's a direct attack on inclusivity and personal autonomy," end quote. Max Fenning, Executive Director of PRISM, raises an alarm of what will happen to LGBTQ+ students next in Florida. He said, quote, "As a youth-led organization, we're deeply disappointed in the passage of HB1, which would strip critical resources like the ones we provide for youth. Young people deserve to feel seen, heard, and take up space, and this bill works to silence them in the public forum," end quote. Meta owns Facebook and Instagram. Their director, Calder Hill Childs, agreed, saying, quote, "Many teens today leverage the internet and apps to responsibly gather information and learn about new opportunities, including part-time jobs, higher education, civic or church gatherings, and military service. By banning teens under 16, Florida risks putting its young people at a disadvantage versus teens elsewhere. Other states have considered similar legislation, but only Florida has considered a total ban. In Arkansas, a federal judge blocked enforcement of a similar law in August, requiring parental consent for minors to create new social media accounts. The Florida bill requires social media companies to close any accounts it believes to be used by minors. Opponents argued the bill would violate First Amendment and parental rights. First, we need to say this has not happened yet. The House passed the bill today. It still needs to go to the Senate and be signed by Governor DeSantis. But the odds are
Right.
it's going to pass. And honestly, I'm a little torn about this because we've had social media for a long time. So it's like, to protect children from becoming addicted, it kind of feels like that horse has already left the barn. Kids are buried in their phones. My 8-year-old cousin showed me how to work an iPad. I mean, the kids today are very far along. But I also know that there are predators out there. I mean, Chris Hansen built an entire franchise, an entire identity, luring would-be pedophiles through social media by pretending to be a kid. And kids are out there. And we've seen kids commit suicide over social media bullying. That said, this completely cuts parents out of the picture. They talk about parental rights. Don't Say Gay was officially called the Parental Rights Protection Act or some nonsense like that. And I feel like parents should have the right to digitally manage their kids. And we think about how far we've come, but these kids don't know that. They, every day a new group of kids turns 10, a new group of kids turn 11, and they start becoming more socially aware. That's about the time when your consciousness of really who you are starts to form. So I'm really in favor of parents' rights. So I guess that's where I'm going to come down on this. Remember, there are several states that have required adult sites like Pornhub and things like that to require age verification, and they just shut down in those states. I doubt Facebook and Meta. Would YouTube be considered in that? In which case, kids would need permission to watch this very show. And this is a news show. I'm feeling that we're in the targets of it.
How are they even controlling this? Well,
there's geofencing. They can tell who's watching what where.
Well, the thing is that for example, Tinder has an age restriction. I've seen so many high schoolers with Tinder.
Oh, yeah.
So how are they circumventing that?
Well, part of it's just the fear, though. They put the law out there, and then they want to say that they're going to close those accounts down. And a lot of people just want to say, okay, I don't want to get into trouble. And even if they don't get into trouble, it's the fear that's going to keep them. It's that self-censoring is what they're trying to do. And they're trying to control the speech and take power away. Think about the number of things that get controlled based upon age. I mean, you can learn to drive when you're 16, and you have to be 18 to be able to consume, or 21 to consume alcohol. You can enlist in the military at 18. But what other things is there control on that we don't trust families and young people to do something?
I don't want to tangent here into this, but I'll say kids 8, 10, and 11 go out hunting with their parents.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's true.
They're holding guns. They're not just
they are.
following along apprenticing.
and
They're
they'll
out
find
going
a
out.
way. I mean, we're at a point
Yeah,
now where
exactly.
like the kids will find a way to do
They
it.
always do.
They
They
know
always do.
more than we do. Then the older we get, the more clueless we are, and they're just going to find a way.
That's exactly like my point. Like kids are intelligent.
It's just an
and
attack
they-
again on the LGBT
Yeah, absolutely.
community.
Absolutely.
And we have to get to a point where it's not about all youth. It's about, stopping sites. It's about stopping the LGBT youth, I think.
And also, let's remind ourselves that every time Republicans try to do something hateful, they always have a cloak of like moral outrage to it. This time it is to prevent children from being addicted to social media. That's complete BS. We know that is complete BS. It's just like the Don't Say Gay thing is about parental rights and education. It's never about parental rights because some parents of LGBTQ plus kids wants them to be out and open and say gay. But this is just another way to say that we're going to stick something on you. And the other thing is, unless Governor DeSantis can literally walk into Meta office and arrest Mark Zuckerberg and force him to shut down all those accounts that are located, that originate from Florida, that belongs to children. How is he going to actually,
Don't give him any ideas, Bobby. Don't give him any ideas.
No, I want Mark Zuckerberg to give him a roundhouse kick. That's what I want.
Maybe after he finishes cage matching Elon, he can cage match
Ron
the
DeSantis.
good governor. Yeah. As I said, it seems like the horse is already out of the barn on this one, but we will continue to follow its progress through Senate committee hearings and future votes. Next, we queer up South Florida and Florida. Pride Skate celebrates love and Valentine's Day, February 1st. A recipe for Valentine's Day can be a lot of romance, glass of wine, just one day, great music, and an opportunity to skate while holding each other's hand. This and more is planned for every romantic soul in South Florida for Pride Skate Night. It will be held Thursday, February 1st at Extreme Action Park. The evening's theme, Valentine's Day. And the night will feature beats by DJ T Pro Mix and performances by the legendary Velvet Lenore and Rihanna Patron. Love you both. And let's not forget the full bar. Now, $15 gets you admission and skate rental, but a $25 VIP ticket also gets you 2 beer or wine tickets. Pride Skate Nights are fun, family-friendly events benefiting Wilton Manor's Stonewall Pride Parade and Street Festival. You can pre-purchase tickets at hotspots.click/PrideSkate. This is just a fun little goofy Valentine's Day thing, and it's 2 weeks before Valentine's Day, so you don't have to say, this isn't romantic. It's romantic, and it's fun. And I remember as a kid, not for Valentine's Day, but like we went to skate parties and things like that. I have a feeling that like all this part of the table did those things. Was skate night still a thing? Because you're still
Well, I actually did skate when I was younger, but then I haven't skated in like years. So when I went back and I actually went to the last like Pride Skate Nights, I fell on my ass. It was
roller skating or blading?
No, it's roller
It's roller
skating.
skating.
Okay, God.
Which is even
This
harder.
old school Venice Beach
Yeah.
Oh my
type.
gosh. I mean, I love that event and I love watching, but I'm not, I know I'm not a skating queer. Nope.
And that's okay.
I am.
Hunter, are you going to come and...
It's the first time I've heard about it. And last time I went skating, I actually broke my right wrist.
Oh.
I did one of those awful falls. We landed just like that. And I could actually hear it go crunch.
Oh.
I was in a cast. So my husband is a real gymnast. So maybe he'll
I love how we're like encouraging people by talking about our traumatic experience.
I unfortunately am not going to come because I'm not going to be here.
No.
But I'm an old school roller skater.
That's
I
amazing.
learned how to roller skate, and actually me and my girlfriends would, in New York City in the 90s, we'd get on hot shorts and we'd have half shirts and we'd roller skate around the East Village to the West Village and up and down the West Side Highway. It was a whole thing.
Oh,
Let me tell you,
great.
they'll have,
sounds
I
so
want
I
to see
still have
pictures.
queens coming up to me like, I remember seeing you streaking across the East Village
wow.
in 94. Yeah.
It's an art. It's an absolute art.
is.
I mean, and I've also seen a lot of like women skaters here in South Florida. Like, there's a community out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And let's not forget, you don't have to be a good skater. If you fall down, guess what? You're not going to be alone. There are going to be other people falling on their butts and picking themselves back up. And even
I can attest.
And if you want to be a wall skater, like where you just sort of like go to the edge of the rink and you're just like inching, that's fine too, because it's fun.
Wear wrist guards.
Wear some wrist guards.
Wear
Yes. Don't end up breaking your wrist like Hunter, or else you're going to end up going to Left Palm Beach for a few weeks, if you know what I mean.
You could also get that $25 ticket, sip wine while you watch all the skaters go round and round.
There you go.
That's beautiful.
No, that's not. No,
yes,
that's not,
it is.
No, chugging the beer and wine and then going out to skate. That's beautiful.
I don't know. I mean, some of those like queer skaters. My God, that is an art.
They're so good.
It is.
I can't even walk down Wilton Drive without tripping on myself while when
I
I'm
know.
sober. You think
know.
that I can actually, skate?
That's an excellent point. You can stay on the side and watch. But yeah,
with you.
it's next week. It's February 1st at Extreme Action Park, and it benefits this summer's Stonewall Pride, which is going to be a blast. Bobby.
All right, next, let's queer up politics. Gay log cabin Republicans compare Joe Biden to Adolf Hitler. In a controversial Instagram post this week, the log cabin Republicans of Colorado faced criticism for comparing President Joe Biden to Adolf Hitler and suggesting that Biden would harm conservatives if re-elected. The now deleted meme juxtaposed images of Biden and Hitler, falsely attributing a quote to Biden about MAGA voters. The image showed Biden saying, quote, MAGA voters are the cause of our problem, end quote. Simultaneously, the meme implicated Hitler has similar views about Jews. It shows Hitler saying, quote, the Jews are the cause of our problems, end quote. The comparison has created a significant response in social media. LCR's executive director is Valdemar Archuleta. He is running for Congress in Colorado's 1st Congressional District, and he has a history of controversial statements. Archuleta has previously blamed LGBTQ plus individuals for a nightclub shooting in 2022 at Club Kill. He has repeatedly labeled queer community as groomers. Even after facing backlash, Archuleta never backed down. While acknowledging the historical use of baseless accusations against the LGBTQ plus community, he suggested the solution is for LGBT individuals to avoid interacting with children. The district, currently represented by Representative Diana DeGette, tends to lean Democratic, with DeGette consistently winning by over 65% in past elections. The controversy added to the scrutiny surrounding Archuleta's congressional candidacy. What an idiot. Now, first of all, if you blame your fellow queers for the Club Q and then call us groomers, the first question I must ask, are you even queer? Seriously, are you even queer? Do you have the lived experience that any queer people have? Have you been insulted? I mean, it seems that he is just kind of a pretend, he's like gay for politics.
Well, MAGA people are pretend humans.
The Republican Party is all about projection, and the things that they are doing, they always project on to the other parties in the Democratic Party. I mean, and Trump is the perfect example of that. He's corrupt, so he's saying the Democratic Party is corrupt. It's always projection, and this is what it's about. This is what this whole story is about.
Yeah, and the whole thing with him saying, when is this Goodwin's law, which says that every time someone opened their mouth on social media, the possibility of someone being compared to Hitler getting close to certainty. And actually, Goodwin's the namesake of that, I think he is a sociologist, come out to say that yes, you can compare Trump to Hitler.
Hunter, you've got a vast knowledge of history.
Yeah, and I think the thing that this brings back for me is the log cabin Republicans. I mean, they have a huge multi-decade, maybe 30, 40, 50 years now in the United States of actually being denigrating to LGBTQ individuals out there. And they try to just thread this needle between conservative ideals and defending it by saying they're LGBTQ+. And unfortunately, people have to take even though they're other members of our community, let's remember we have a very big community, and not everybody agrees with those of us who have a more progressive point of view.
Well, and also the old days of the log cabin Republicans was the old Republican Party.
Correct.
We're in a completely different Republican Party now. It doesn't, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
I remember, like when I first moved to California and hearing about that, I laughed and whatever. And, you know, you could debate about taxes and some slight social, problems that you had with the Conservative Party. But now it's really black and white.
Yeah. I have a question, because I look around this table. You're a resident young person, and I see that with affection and love. But I also want your perspective on this. Does a meme like this register with people 25 and under?
I mean, it definitely does not, and it also depends on who you're talking to in the younger generation, because I feel like the younger generation is very disillusioned just with the political system as a whole. They're even upset with Biden because Biden hasn't done enough, for example, for trans people, for housing insecure people, for other people like Black people, which is why like they're so angry just at the system as a whole. So I would say like that meme wouldn't resonate with them, but for some people I actually think that I think it kind of would, because they're just so upset with Biden because of everything that he hasn't done for them, if that makes sense. But I don't think that for the majority it would resonate.
Okay. This sort of ties back to our first topic of the night, social media. Mm-hmm. It is a huge place to disseminate information. It's also a huger place, it's a word, for the internet, it's a word. It's a huger place for misinformation.
Yeah.
And I think I want a couple of things I want to hit on. When they put these two images together and they put that false quote next to President Biden, they're acknowledging their self-awareness, because if they think Biden they could put up their MAGA voters are the cause of the problem, that means they know that it's a very real possibility that he could have said that, because they are part of the problem. And they're acknowledging that, yeah, we are part of the problem. That's what this meme says. They didn't intend to, but they are saying it. Bobby.
Yeah, but I actually come back to Candis's statement saying that, every accusation is a mission, essentially. Donald Trump made no secret that he intends to use his term, if he gets reelected, to violently punish his political opponents and people he doesn't like.
Well, he also said that he's a dictator.
Yeah, and now, so this guy is literally saying, Biden is going to punish MAGA people. No, MAGA wants to punish progressive. That's why they...
Oh, and they also want to punish each other.
Yeah.
If you're not MAGA enough, you're going to get punished. And I just want to make a mention of local for South Florida, for our South Florida viewers. Log Cabin Republicans of Broward this weekend are hosting Lauren Spivak, who apparently is also known as Dr. Truth, as in a play on Dr. Seuss. I'm not going to say where, and I'm not going to say when, because we certainly don't need to promote them. But Lauren, Loren, Spivak, produces all these apparently anti-woke books, and I don't need to hear her side of the story. She has The New Democrat, with a very racist drawing version of President Obama, to fit the cat in the hat meme. It's vile, It's disgusting. Lauren Spivak, you are a terrible person. Log Cabin Republicans, you are a terrible, in Broward, you are a terrible group for hosting this person. And by the way, why can't I tag you on Facebook? Miami-Dade's Log Cabin Republicans are willing to take some feedback, or on Instagram, I'm sorry, can take some feedback on Instagram. I believe the Palm Beach County Log Cabin Republicans can be commented on, but you can't tag the Broward Log Cabin Republicans. Is it because you just don't exist and no one's minding your Facebook page or your Instagram page? Or is it because you just know that you're wrong, that you know that you are terrible people, that you know you are hurting other people? Otherwise, let me comment. Let me tag you. Let me show people what you really believe in.
I also just want to say that, you know, no matter who gets elected in the upcoming election, that we're going to be here for each other. Like, no matter what oppressive government or government upholds, queer people always survive. We're always here. We will always be there for each other. So that's...
And also, that's amazing, but we also can't equate the two parties.
No.
Can't say that, like, we're both wrong and both sides are, you know, it is not that way. There's one side that is really, truly causing all of this strife and stress and hate in America, causing all this stuff to happen. And there's another party who is vast. The Democratic Party, you know, it encompasses liberals and conservative Democrats and, you know, like this whole group of people that we really need to come together as one party, especially this year. And, you know, have discussions about what we don't agree with, but really go in and vote together because we cannot have Trump.
Amen. We have talked about that a lot, and it's really very important for everybody to vote. And also remember that things like this are going to be coming down the pike. We're only at the end of January. The election will be in November. By the time September, October come, you're going to be seeing some of the most unbelievable images. And just to everybody, check your sources out there. Don't believe don't believe everything that you see on social media.
Exactly.
Also, don't only just rely on the presidency. We also have to be mindful of also the Congress, the House of Representatives, because they're also the ones who are like making the laws, who are instilling like, you know, most of like what's going on right now. The president is important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you have to focus on other things.
Yeah, up and down ballot.
Yeah.
You know, conservatives and fascists wormed their way in through school board elections, innocuous school board elections, and look where our schools are now.
Yep.
Right, Papi.
All right, so next up, let's queer up entertainment. Will Ferrell supports his trans friend after she came out with a film. When Will Ferrell's close friend of 3 decades, Harper Steele, revealed her transgender identity, the actor admitted to having zero knowledge about the community. So to understand her journey and transformation and to be a better friend to Steele, they decided to process this chapter of their friendship together. They collaborated to create a documentary to chronicle their journey of understanding. Ferrell and Harper Steele met during their time on Saturday Night Live, for which Steele was a writer from 1995 to 2008. Steele came out as transgender in 2022, which was initially surprising to Ferrell, as he admits he had encountered trans individuals before, but none had been a part of his personal life. This was uncharted territory for him, and that's why he finds this film so thrilling. So in order to bridge the knowledge gap, they embarked on a road trip across the United States, documenting their evolving relationship in the upcoming film, Will and Harper. Ferrell expressed the documentary's purpose as offering a glimpse into the coming out and transitioning process, aiming to foster understanding for cisgender individuals with transgender loved ones. Will and Harper is currently seeking distribution beyond Sundance with no confirmed release date. We hope Will and Harper becomes available for all of us to watch very soon. So I think this is a really interesting film because I feel like a lot of like trans films focus on like the transitioning aspect, but not in like the actual like acceptance of the people like around us, if that makes sense. So I think like exploring how somebody were to get to like absolutely not knowing anything about trans people to like embracing another trans person and like understanding their experience and going through that experience with them is a really important thing to highlight. And I I think it's also interesting because I've also had friends that have gone through my transition with me. So, I mean, obviously I'm still like in the process of like transitioning. I'm not done yet, but it was interesting to kind of go through that process and be like, hey, like, I'm trans. Yeah. and them being like, oh wow, I think I have to like start thinking about things in a different way. Mm-hmm. You know, I have to start like, and it's not to say that like our friendship is completely different or anything, like it's still the same, but it's to say that there's a lot of learning that they need to be like, that needs to be done and that they need to do. And that's why I think this film is like so interesting, and I really hope that I can watch it.
Yeah, I hope we can watch it too. I'm sure it'll get distribution somewhere, and we will definitely be keeping an eye on that. And not to, as I mentioned earlier, you're a resident young person today, so not to minimize or invalidate any of your experiences, but I do want to talk about yours because you are older. Have you had a similar experience like Will has? Someone who knew you before you began transitioning, but then you said you were roller skating up and down the West Side as a kid in the 90s. So
yeah, I came out in my early 20s and started my transition. But the thing that I love about these kind of movies is that it's a perfect example of how, you know, like the more people see the trans story that are in the straight and cisgender community, the more they understand, you know, the power of what we go through, and it's not a choice, you know. It's like, and it's the power of media, you know, like the more people see us, the more we'll be accepted. That's why it's so important to have trans representation on television and film in every stage of the transition. People who are our trans elders, and also, you know, people that are just starting their transition. Once you get to understand that journey, it's less threatening for the greater community, not our community, you know, the human community. So I think that's important. But when I first started my transition in the 90s, there were no, you know, places you could go. There was no hospitals. There was no doctors. There was black market hormones. There was, you know, hearing word of mouth, finding the right electrolysis that only the certain girl, like if they only did the girls. And so you couldn't kind of traverse the world like it is now. Like we had to rely on each other and figure out how to transition in our community, and we were a really close-knit community then, because we needed each other to survive.
Well, it just shows how many different elements of the LGBTQ community there are, and the fact that this idea of building a community around you. It reminds me to some degree when I think about some of the drag kings and drag queens in the 1950s and 60s, and the sense that community was a very small community, and they really had to learn from the mother within the group and from the individuals within that group. And I just hope that, you know, today younger people can find that community of elders who can, and peers who can talk to them about different aspects, because we're all raised as different individuals, and there are a certain amount of things that we're taught based upon the gender which is believed to be at the time that someone's raised. And so I think it's really important for be able to transition a lot of that stuff and to just deal with other queer individuals who can help balance this out.
That's actually interesting that you mentioned like elder mentors, because I actually do have an elder mentor. She's not trans, she's a cisgender lesbian. But I kind of went through my transition with her as well. And it was interesting to kind of go through it with her, because like not only was I discovering things about myself, but she was discovering things about herself too through my transition, which I thought was like fascinating. Because like I think that sometimes cis people like live in a world of like, you know, like, yeah, this is like the way, this is like how it's always been. And then when they encounter another trans person and they literally like start hearing about our experiences and our stories and stuff like that, and they're like, wait a minute, I think this happened to me, and wait, how about this? And like they start piecing things together, and it expands upon their cisgender identity. Sure. You know, and it's such a beautiful thing. Yeah. It's an exchange.
Yeah. Come on, Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that it'll go on Netflix or something because
Yeah, absolutely.
it should be something that you can watch again and again. It's an educational piece of artwork.
Yeah.
And I think, and more importantly, going back to finding community, that trans people, trans youth can, use the internet to find community, just like LGBTQ people of all stripes tried to do that when the internet sprung up in the late 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, AOL, anyone remember those? But, but the thing is, and that's why the social media bill that we discussed in the breaking story is so insidious. This is how they take away your community, by basically taking away the way that you can become a community.
Oh, absolutely. Republicans have for a long, long time worked to narrow the views and the trains of thoughts that we have. I want to give a shout out to my friend Shay. Fay's bestie. We love you, girl. We miss you. She has anchored here before she started flying the friendly skies, and we're so happy for you. But we lost track of each other. I think we all lost track of people over a pandemic, and we were never like super tight friends like Shay and Fay. But there's a show, Shay and Fay. I'm sending it to production. But when we all got back together finally for a somewhat socially distanced Friday evening after work, it had probably been about a year or so, and I saw Shay for the first time since she had transitioned, and I had no idea this had been happening at all. And I just kind of was like, "You look so familiar." But then, as soon as we started talking, I was like, "Yeah," because people get so caught up on looks and everything. The heart is still the same.
Yeah.
The heart is still the same, no matter how fabulous your makeup may look. When yours does.
Thank you. It's a
fabulous
Valentine's Day special.
I appreciate that. But I've asked another trans friend, and I said, "Did you lose any friends after you started transitioning?" And she told me, "No, because they weren't really my friends to begin with."
Yep, that's true.
And I found that a particularly powerful statement. Will, thank you. You were always one of my favorite interviews. You're always fantastic and upbeat and a little bit goofy, which is why I think I had some of my best interviews with you. Good on you for not only embracing your friend, learning your friend, and admitting what you don't know. That's the thing. Yeah. Will is admitting what he doesn't know.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
and making this
Good
movie.
point.
And
Good
I'm just
point.
so very excited. And you know what? I've got friends who can get screeners. So if this thing doesn't get distribution, we're all just going to come over and have movie night at my house.
Invite me over.
Absolutely.
Next up, let's queer up trans rights. A Missouri father emotionally defends his transgender son against lawmakers. As the Missouri State Legislature gathered to discuss a series of anti-LGBTQ+ bills, a parent of transgender child made a heartfelt plea, urging the government to just leave them alone. Rabbi Daniel Bogart passionately addressed the legislative proceedings, particularly focusing on a bill that seeks to restrict transgender individuals from using bathrooms aligning with their gender identity. Bogart, whose 10-year-old son is transgendered, expressed frustration at having to, quote, fight so that the son can go and poop at school without being bothered, end of quote. In a video shared on Threads by The Recount, Bogart emphasized the ease of being a parent to a transgender's child, highlighting that the real challenge lies in the government's interference. He lamented that the continuous struggle for his son's basic human dignity and the recurring need to confront legislative hurdles. Bogart shed light on the heart of the ongoing anti-trans panic through a conversation with his son. The father said his son does not want to go to the men's room because he does not want everyone to know what his private parts look like. And no, Bogart just can't stop thinking about it. He asked why people think that they have the right to know what children's privates look like. If kids are going into the bathroom and people are seeing their genitals, that's a problem. Currently, Missouri faces the advancement of 28 anti-LGBTQ plus bills, all introduced in the early weeks of 2024.
The only hard part of having a trans kid has been this sense that my government just won't leave us alone. That we have to come back here again and again and fight just for his basic human dignity, just fight so that he can go and poop at school without being bothered. I asked him about this bill. I don't bring him on testimony days because there's too many terrible things about trans people said I don't want him to hear. I asked him about this bill, and what he said to me, because I always encourage him to use the women's restrooms in public because men's restrooms are gross, and he's still 10 years old, right? And what he tells me is, Dad, I don't want to go there because I don't want everyone to know what my private parts look like. And it just has stuck with me how much of this is about feeling like folks have some right to know what children's privates look like.
This breaks my heart. I mean, I'm so close to this story in the sense that, like, when I was growing up, adults would come up to me and ask if I was a boy or a girl. And I was 7 and 8. And these were 40-year-old people talking about my gender to me, which I didn't even know about. So it's a scary thing. This isn't the adults look at this matter like it's from their side and their eyesight, but people forget to look at these issues from the eyes of a child who's 10 years old. He knows he's a boy. That's all that should matter. And adults are really, really getting in, and Republicans and legislators are really just getting into the private lives of families. And it should not be allowed.
It's once again scapegoating of an entire minority population just for political gain. I mean, this is not unlike the 15 states constitutional amendments to ban gay marriage that showed up suddenly in 2004 when George W. Bush is getting ready for election for a second term. This is something to drive people to the votes. It is something to demonstrate how conservative they are and how politically, adhere to the values of these people by basically bashing something that they do not know and also denigrating them by saying that, these people are transgender ideology. There's no such thing as transgender ideology. There's no such thing as trans ideology. No. Someone's gender identity is not a bloody ideology. Ideology can change. Ideology evolve. You don't get to evolve someone else's gender identity. Thank you very much.
And you don't get to stop someone else's gender identity.
Right. Or you don't get to impose.
That's the word. Yeah.
You don't get to impose gender on somebody else. And so what I found the bright spot of this story was, how much did you love the dad? I loved him. I loved him so much for just standing there and being articulate and not being emotional. And then also, did you notice in the video how the elected officials and the city councilor at the state legislature, they were just mostly a bunch of just white cisgender men just sitting back and they were putting in the time and just listening to him because he had the right to speak. But it was hard to imagine that people were really feeling the emotion that this man felt for his child.
He is heard, but he is not listened to.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
And I can tell you I'm very similar to his son in the sense that I'm quote unquote pre-transition, even though I'm non-binary, so I don't think there's ever gonna be a post-transition for me, but in the sense that I haven't started HRT yet, but because I outwardly dress extremely masculine, and sometimes I literally look sometimes like a man, I literally cannot go to the bathroom. I get scared every time I go to the bathroom because if I go to the men's bathroom, they're like, "What are you doing here?" I remember this one guy was like, "I think you're in the wrong bathroom." I'm like, "I think you're in the wrong bathroom." Good. And and then in the other bathroom, I went to the women's bathroom, and then and the lady said this in Spanish, and I'm like, does she not know I'm Latin? But she was like, "Oh, I can't believe they let men in the bathroom now." And I was just like, I'm like, what bathroom do I use? What bathroom do you want me to just go to a bush? That's the OG gender neutral bathroom, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I remember like going to like specific conferences, like the Creating Change conference. It's gender neutral bathrooms.
Right.
There's no woman meant, like people just use the bathroom. I'm literally having a conversation with someone who's a different gender than me. We're entering the same bathroom, like just talking. We pee, we do our thing, and then we leave. That's all you do in a bathroom. That's all you do in a bathroom. What else are you gonna do in a bathroom?
Well, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things we can say, honey. But the thing is, the obsession with children's genitals, or obsession with other people's genitals, is so concerning. It's like, you know, just why are you middle-aged cisgender white men so obsessed about other children's genitals?
Here's the thing, because it's also like because like of the whole like and actually like let's go back to the history of why we have different like gendered bathrooms. It's because men didn't want women in their bathroom. It was a separatist movement like that was basically like very sexist actually.
Totally.
Extremely sexist. And not only that, but now they're upholding it so that they prevent heterosexual sex from being in the bathroom. I'm sorry, but is somebody gonna like be like, there's a woman's bathroom. I'm not gonna enter it so I don't have sex. Like, like people aren't gonna do that. Like, they're gonna do it regardless.
Yeah, I love, I want to disagree with you on when you said this story makes you very sad. This story fills my heart with happiness because of the rabbi dad.
Well, it does.
Father of the year, because these things.
If we have more parents like that.
These bills are being introduced from coast to almost the other coast, but we don't see Rabbi Dad every day. So this story really, really made me happy. I love that he's sticking up for his dad. I've said this before that the genitalia that all these people get up in arms about, they're reducing it to the most basic, the most base, the most unimportant part of the life experience. We all go to the bathroom, and we're all, as you said, thank you for the evolution on. No, and I'm not being snarky when I say it. Thank you
it's
for that
true.
lesson.
And the OG bathroom was a tree.
Yeah,
a gender neutral tree.
And look, I have to apologize to some trees in Hagen Park after I've left the drive for the night. But seriously though, it's where we feel the most vulnerable. We're exposed, and I think that's easy for haters to just pick on that one thing. They don't look at our intelligence, our abilities, or our disabilities, or the things that make us unique. Because I now have enough trans friends to say, you're not unique and you're not unique.
I am.
You are not. No, you are part of our community. And people, and you're not being embraced, and that makes me sad.
Right. No, and that's what I meant. Like I love when I see parents like this Rabbi Dad, sticking up for his son. That's heartwarming, and I love that. And I have parents like that, and I have since the beginning. So I never had to deal with the other. But what breaks my heart is just a 10-year-old child having to go through these feelings and not having a community support them, and only seeing their parents support them. That's what breaks my heart.
Yeah, but he's got that support at home.
Yeah.
And that child is better for it.
Yeah.
And we all, as a community, are absolutely better for it. So thank you very much, Rabbi Dad.
Rabbi Dad.
I'm with you, Rabbi Dad. Next, let's queer up trans rights. Candis Cayne doesn't mince words about Caitlyn Jenner. Candis Cayne, a well-known entertainer and trans activist, has publicly distanced herself from her once close friendship with, quote, I Am Kate, close quote, co-star Caitlyn Jenner. In a candid interview with The Messenger, Candis opened up about her decision, stating that she no longer considers Jenner a friend due to her controversial political stances. Candis emphasized the difficulty in separating their friendship from Jenner's belief system. Jenner, who is openly identified as a Republican for several years, has sparked questions about the authenticity of her political views as a trans woman. The complexities of Jenner's alignment with the GOP presented a significant challenge for Candis, and unsurprisingly, she's not alone in grappling with these complexities. In recent times, Caitlyn Jenner has been engaged in a delicate balancing act, expressing a desire to align herself with both transgender rights and the Republican Party. It's a challenging endeavor given the GOP's well-established stance against various LGBTQ plus issues. During a 2015 interview with Diane Sawyer discussing her transition, Jenner confidently identified herself as a Republican without hesitation. In 2020, Jenner authored an article for USA Today, shedding light on the challenges of being a trans Republican and expressing a desire to reform the party for greater inclusivity. Yet, when announcing her run for governor in California a year later, she refrained from labeling herself a Republican, stating to Politico, quote, "I don't like labels," close quote. Later in that same year, Jenner characterized herself as, quote, "economically conservative and socially progressive," close quote, in an interview with People. Interestingly, despite these shifts, Jenner assumed a role as a contributor for the notably right-wing Fox News in 2022, drawing criticism from both conservative and liberal circles alike. The story arc of Caitlyn Jenner and Candis Cayne is an illustration of the complexity when power, money, and basic civil rights can clash.
Yep.
Well, that's a really amazing story to have you here, Candis. And also what's so interesting about it is it mixes so much of what we've been talking about here this evening. So many of these stories are they're just coming out of the same thing. So this is kind of a personal story for you. I mean, you have been sharing a lot of personal stuff here, but I mean, this was a friend of yours.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this, it breaks my heart because we had so many great moments. You know, she started a show, I Am Kate, which suddenly put the trans word on the lips of the world. I would go into a little small town in the middle of nowhere, Portugal, in the country, and people would know who I was, which was amazing. But I found it more and more hard to reconcile with her political views, and I am such a liberal and I'm such a progressive person that it was really hard to see her go on Fox News and talk about women in sports when, you know, there's 100 kids in all of America that want to play sports as a trans student. 100 and 320 million, you know, it's just such a small amount of people that want to do that. It's unbelievable. I've gotten into full on debates with Caitlyn, and it's been fun and energetic, and we've disagreed, but it got to the point where we are in a time in our history, in our American history, where we have one side or one television network that it literally lies every single day and has created this cult of people that believe these outlandish lies and have really caused turmoil in our society. We can no longer just debate financial issues, like Caitlyn said, that she's, you know, liberal, she's conservative about, you know, money or whatever. We're in a whole different era now. And
like that flew 10 years ago.
That flew 10 years ago. It
right.
doesn't anymore.
I mean, for me, Caitlyn's position in our community is very similar to the rich guy who got on the lifeboat at the sinking Titanic and they yanked it and then just lowered himself in the water with not allowing anyone else on board. She got it. who cares about others. I find her to be extraordinarily selfish when it comes to like her embrace of conservative politicians, conservative news outlets, because she's being trotted out as if like she's the token LGBTQ plus person, so that the Fox News crowd can denigrate the rest of LGBTQ plus community and say, see, Caitlyn's on our side.
Yeah. Right. Well, I want to ask a couple questions.
Yeah.
What was more painful? Going through the process of realizing that she's not a friend of the community and therefore probably not as good a friend as you thought, or the actual decision to say, I'm going to stop contact with her?
I have many friends in the LGBTQ plus community that have different ideals and values, but it got to a point where I felt that it hurt me more that I had to consciously say in an interview, like, we're not friends anymore, or at least now. I'm not saying never. I think people have the chance to change and see the way, their actions cause an avalanche of situations. I think that, I will, if she calls, I'll pick up the phone, but I want to talk to her about what really matters. And I don't know if she can hear that. And so it breaks I say that a lot. It makes me sad that she can't hear that. She can't understand anything because she only looks at the world through one lens. And it doesn't matter to her about her transness, it upsets me when people dead name her or misgender her, because all in all, she's part of my community and I'm going to stick up for her, and she's a friend. But we don't talk now because of some of the choices that she made.
So you still consider her a friend?
Of course, I will always consider. I'm not giving up my friendship with people. I've had amazing times with her. But I feel like sometimes you have to walk away from friendships because of because they're going off in a totally different direction that you disagree with. This just happens to be choices and words that she uses that actually hurt our community.
Is she a true believer, or is she doing this for spots on Fox News and to get in headlines and things like that?
Here's
the sound of silence. We're going to revisit that once the cameras stop rolling.
Here's like another question that I have, because this topic comes up very often in my group, because my friend group, we're all trans.
Yeah.
And when we see people like Caitlyn Jenner, like Blair White, that literally go against the trans community and cause harm to the community, even though they're trans themselves, we can't help but wonder, do they have internalized transphobia? What is going on that they're to the point where they're allowing people to harm not only us, the trans community, but them? I mean, I've seen some interviews where I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. I think their ideology becomes such a part of their entire being that they don't know how to differentiate what they are brainwashed in hearing on certain, networks, and actually being thoughtful about the power they have for an entire community. And
Don't underestimate the internal transphobia or gay phobia. Certainly we've seen in history in the 20th century a number of gay people who were out there and denigrating the gay community. J. Edgar Hoover, Roy Cohn. And so that actually, I do have a particular amount of empathy for some of those people, because I do think some of that internalized phobia is really just the way they were raised. And I am empathetic to them. I wish that they could intellectualize it to the point that they could get beyond whatever it was that they were raised with. I only know what I was raised with. Yeah. I can't put myself in someone else's shoes as to what they were raised with.
I a few years ago, this was 2015, 2016, when she announced her transition. And I was willing to give a pass for a little bit, because Her greatest accomplishment is tied to 30 years before.
Sure.
Before she had transition, and is tied to her dead name, and is tied to literally a different era, a different person.
Yeah.
How did that play any role? Do you think that plays any role in how she processes her own identity?
Well, I mean, when you're trans, you're really early on.
But she's historically destined to have one foot in the past and one foot in the present.
Of course. And she does
publicly in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and she's not one of those trans people who are like, don't do that, don't say that, she knows that her history, and she is where she is because of it, know. And I think, a lot of us trans people have to embrace our past and our history, in order to be full humans, instead of, that's my own personal opinion. But yeah, no, I think that you get to a point where you just lose your way. And I think that
we've talked earlier tonight about the importance of family support and how much it can hurt to not have that. Now the fact is, she is or was part of the first family of reality TV.
Yeah.
Publicly, they were very supportive, or at least they tried to be.
Yeah.
But the way it all came out, the way it looked from 30,000 feet, and checking in with my TMZ app, that they were very supportive.
They were.
Were they, or was that just an act for the shows and social?
No, it was not an act. They were very supportive. Chris came to visit us in New Orleans. The girls would stop by the house all the time. They would get into fights and have disagreements with certain things that Caitlyn would do, like any other family. But no, they were very supportive. And, yeah, they were great.
That's awesome. And this was such a wonderful discussion, and we're going to talk even more. We're going to talk about happier things with you a little bit later. We're going to talk about your secret garden.
I still have hope that someday she's going to be like, you know what, I was wrong.
and that's a valid thing, because some people change.
Some people change.
And you're saying publicly here on Queer News Tonight, if she pops up on the caller ID, you're going to accept the call.
Yeah. We would. We might have lay into each other.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's what friends do.
Yeah.
From time to time. I'm looking at you, Bobby.
What? What did I do now?
Well, tonight's broadcast is presented in part by Visit Lauderdale. Everyone under the sun.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Finally, let's queer up trans rights. Candis Cayne's Secret Garden debuts on the Advocate channel. Candis Cayne, a pioneering actress, has dedicated her life to embracing her true self and promoting the beauty of life's diversity. Known for her groundbreaking role as Carmelita Rayner on ABC's Dirty Sexy Money, she became the first transgender actress with a recurring starring role on a network TV series. Now, alongside her best friend, Dana Davis, she has co-founded Mary It's Mary Productions to share their compelling stories. The result is Candis's Secret Garden. It's a captivating half-hour reality TV gardening show where Candis not only stars, but is also the co-writer. Infused with magic, beauty, and kindness, the show, featuring Bruce Valanche, Rain Valdez, and Luis Fernandez Gil, brings joy to gardening. Tune in every Friday at 7 p.m. on the Advocate channel to be part of this magic.
I have a secret. And I finally decided to tell you all about it.
Good morning, Candis.
You were having a party last night, weren't you?
Welcome to Candis Cayne's Secret Garden.
Morning, Candis. I'm here and I'm all yours.
You heard that right. Each week I'm going to be visiting a new friend to help them create their own secret garden and help you a little bit too at home.
Candis!
Bruce Valanche!
Candis Cayne, are you here for the pickleball tournament? Excuse me.
Hi, Rain. Hi. Rain had told me that she wanted some shade from the sun, and so along one side I planted hedges, which are going to grow eventually up, and then I decided to go with the little purple section with her plums that she had here. What a fantastic way to start my birthday. So today I'm going to do a fabulous little cocktail called the Buzzy Bee. This is really so easy to do at home. Let me show you. I could do this all day.
You're talking greenhouse, right, Mary?
What else would I be talking about, succulent? See, anything's possible in the secret garden. Together, we can discover what can grow with the proper nourishment and a little bit of magic.
We'll be in the tree.
Don't forget, good things happen when you get a little dirty.
All right, as promised, we're going to take a few minutes to get to know Candis even better. Spoiler alert, behind the scenes, we talked a couple weeks ago about this and had a fantastic conversation. This is such a creative and fun and goofy show, and as I like to say, the pandemic was terrible,
yes,
but a few good things came out of it. One of which is your garden, which you've tried to keep a secret, but you no longer are.
I know.
Tell us a little bit about this show on Advocate every Friday.
Well, it's called Candis Cayne's Secret Garden, and I started I've been gardening lightly throughout my life. I grew up in Maui. It's super lush. There was plants and trees all around me. My parents were, really well versed in names, and so I had this curiosity about it. And when I was bored at my house waiting for the pandemic to end, and I saw this blank canvas, I started gardening. And I started really first with aloes, because there's 700 different species of aloe, and I started collecting different kinds of aloes, and I'm up to like 165 species of aloe in my backyard, and so I got it to this point where I was like, this needs to be seen, and I was like, I want to do a garden show. And then of course Dana Davis, who was here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, what a great interview. She's wonderful.
She's pretty wonderful. Pretty. No, I'm teasing. No, we started a production company called Mary It's Mary Productions because we wanted to start writing trans content, and our first show Secret Garden, we wanted to write. And she was like, I really think that we need to bring magical creatures into this garden. So it's a combination of Martha Stewart living and P.B. Herman's Playhouse. And it's a super fun how-to, but also you get to meet all these magical creatures. And I garden at home and I do little makeovers on people's homes.
Oh, so Pee-wee's Playhouse and Martha Stewart. Those are two things that your target demographic are going to be able to identify with.
Exactly.
Spoiler alert, I'm the target demographic. And so are you if you're watching this. It's a lot of fun, but yes, you do need the magical creatures, and we're seeing a few here. We saw in the trailer. I'm sure they're all fantastic. I need to know more about the merman.
Oh, yes. Mustafa, the magical merman. He's so sweet. Derek Ocampo is his name. He's a great actor, and we were really wanting an actor with a big range and a really nice body to, take off his shirt and wear a gorgeous merman tail. And he's actually really, really charming, and he's a perfect, little character in our garden.
So I will be taking donation of people's miles. If you want to donate some of your frequent flyer miles, so that on your next trip out here, we can also fly the merman out with you.
You'll have to come and visit the Secret Garden.
I cannot wait. All right, I've monopolized all your time. Panelists, do we have any questions for our esteemed guest tonight?
Well, I just want to say that we have a party because, we're on episode of 8 this week of 10 episodes and on the Advocate channel. And so we decided I wanted to come to South Florida and throw a party. Dana made me come here and said, we're throwing a party for Secret Garden here. So we're doing a party on Friday, which is tomorrow, at No Manor at 8 o'clock. I might or might not be doing a number or two.
Okay.
And we're just going to celebrate Secret Garden and, all the hard work that we put into it.
And that's going to be a really fun party. It's one of Wilton Manor's newest clubs, and it's a really great space for entertainment. Some nights they have jugglers on stilts or a unicycle. Sometimes they've got fire breathers. You never know what they're going to have on a particular night. Except for tomorrow, when we know that they're going to be when.
Well, we still don't know. We still don't know if she's performing though.
But your presence should be enough to draw
your radiance.
People in. Yeah, absolutely. So. Anybody, any questions?
Well, I just want to say I've not seen the show, and I can't wait to see it, the Secret Garden show, because I've been in the same condo for the last 20 years, and it has wonderful light and plants are everywhere, but something is not working. So maybe I'll write you a fan letter and ask you to come to take a look sometime.
That would be very cool.
Okay.
This is the web. I'm used to having as much time as I want for our interview segments. I'm not bound by 28 minutes to hit the network, but sadly not tonight. I have a box of wine waiting for me at home that is desperately needed to be tended to. So with that said, Candis, thank you so much for coming here tonight. Thank you for coming to South Florida. I know you're going to be working on some projects here over the next few months, so certainly you'll be back.
Yes.
Keep us updated on any celebrity feuds that continue to fester. We'll share a few afterwards. But for now, that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily evening television show. And on behalf of these fine reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Bad Papi, Bobby Huen, Hunter Hanyon, and my dear new friend, Candis Cayne. Thank you so much. And we thank you for watching. And to our fans and friends and LGBTQ plus community around the world, we wish you a very good night.
Good night.